Hello, my loyal readers, and I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fan fiction review. As always, please, the link to the story will be in the description. Please like, subscribe, and remember the fact this is my own opinion. If you have your own opinion, please leave it in the comment section. Now, this is a story I have been wanting to review for a long time. I think next to Deluge by Mira Chalet, which thankfully is actually being finished this fall, is a story I look forward to reviewing the most. I actually alluded to it multiple times. It is Better Off Alone by Great Chicken Miasma. Oh, good lord, I love this story. So, let me just, before I start with the actual review, let me lay out some groundwork. Every single person, doesn't matter how old they are, doesn't matter what color, etc., they have their own preferences, they have their own ideas, but they also have their own favorites. Like, they have, what's your, like, you ask someone, what's your favorite movie? They'll always answer, like, something. And of course, the same thing for video games, for books, for plays, for actors. There's always some kind of favoritism. Better Off Alone, to this day, is still my favorite fan fiction. Just ever. Just in general. The only fan fictions the only stories that come close to it is Fusion of Destinies 2 and Deluge. Go away. Where was I? Oh yeah. So anyway, I said yeah. Now I know the only two comparable stories I did are two of the previous Mario fan fictions that I reviewed, and that is Kingdom Beyond Midnight and Mario and Luigi and Bowser. And this is something that every author should know. Anyone who wants to read, anyone who's like really into books and literature, so on and so forth, that there's always certain pillars that every person must use to write a story. That is how to use a plot and the genre connected to it relatively well. Group of characters that are designed to either love or hate. Good word style and a good writing style, depending on the person. And finally, an emotional connect. Now, I'm gonna be real here. Better Off Alone doesn't have as good a writing style as Mario and Luigi Bowser, but it has a good plot, but it doesn't have as good a plot as Kingdom Beyond Midnight. Out of the three stories, Kingdom Beyond Midnight has probably the best plot. However, what Better Off Alone did that the other two didn't do is it was very emotional. And that you can have the substandard plot, you can have substandard characters, you can do whatever you want. But if even the reader can tell how much passion you put into a project and making them play with their emotions, then you know you did a good job. Because that's pretty much how everything works. I mean, you fall in love with it because it does something to you. It does something involving the emotions, the happiness, the sadness, the anger. And that is something Better Off Alone did that Kingdom Beyond Midnight barely did. It's sad to say because that story was amazing, and Mario and Luigi Bowser didn't do at all. But then again, that story was a novelization. It was gonna have a uphill battle with that. Anyway, so the plot of Better Off Alone takes place roughly before the events of Chapter 4 of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. For whom the bells tolls, I believe that's what it's called. And literally, the story has Vivian getting beat up by Beldum with a steel pipe. That's literally the opening scene. And we see this journey of Vivian trying to become better herself, because I love Vivian. I love Vivian ever since I first saw her in Thousand Year Door. I know I'm kind of repeating what I said in Kingdom Beyond Midnight. I loved Vivian in Thousand Year Door. I think she was overall the best character. Everything to do with her, and I really did love her journey in the story and how she becomes friends with Coops, and then they eventually fall in love. What genre is it? 1 second. It's a romance angst story. I'm actually surprised that angst is actually a real thing. That's really exclusive to fanfiction. Which is what I love about fanfiction. They have these crazy terms. So anyway, and seeing Vivian's journey of trying to make something of herself, trying to earn her happy ending, trying to say, I'm better than you, Beldam, and her meeting Coots, meeting all the partners and becoming friends with them, and this whole journey from the beginning to the end of her wanting her happy ending. It's just a natural way of going about it. Especially, half the story is cut into the events of the game, while the other half is pretty much everything afterwards the game. And it's a really touching story. Everything about it is so sad, so heartwarming, that I just couldn't help but, legitimately at the end, I cried. I'm not gonna lie about it. I literally cried at the end in terms of the plot. Beldam kind of being the main villain, that's was expected. They kind of said at the beginning that, okay, here's the real bad guy of the whole story. There you go. Hate her. Everything about the plot, the little couple chapters that kind of explain how everything was set up in the diary with Vivian's sister and the stalwart Koopa from like 1,000 years ago in the game. It was a nice touch. Everything about the story, there was lots of little touches that I really, really loved, like Goombella's and Miss Mow's like a little sibling rivalry, and Waffles kind of getting on everyone's nerves half the time. Everything was as good as I expected, because this is what last time I read this was about 2018, about 6 years ago. I first read this story about 6 years ago, and it's still as good as I remember it. Now there's still like one main problem, and that is, wait, I'm skipping ahead of myself. Characters. Sorry about that. Characters. I loved all the characters. I already talked about Vivian, and now let's talk about the rest of them. Coops, having him find his voice, having him wanting to be brave and courageous. That's a good turn. It's natural how it's done. Goombella is nice. She's a really sweet character in the story that I kind of was indifferent towards, but I kind of warmed up with her as the story went along, because I thought, she's probably not. The story makes it clear it's all about Vivian, Coops, and actually Miss Mouse. And so I thought she was going to be actually going to be a bit player, but then, she kind of actually grows and evolves in something like, I like Goombella now. Waffles, he's a riot. Of course he is. Mainly because he's so hilarious. I really, really loved Waffles in the story, because I think I didn't really like the Yoshi in the game, mainly because I found him pretty much useless, aside from like going around everywhere. But other than that, it's like, yeah, but I like his personality. He has spunk. Bobbery and Flurry, they're never there enough, so they're probably the weakest characters. But that's more to do with the fact that on the totem pole, they're not as important as Goombella, Vivian, Coops, and Miss Mouse, and Waffles, because that's what the Yoshi's called in the story, shows up enough to see that he is important enough. Like, Bobbery and Flurry are literally like, they're those two guys who just stand, who are just in the back. And they rarely make an impact. You can honestly get rid of them and nothing will change about the story. But then again, with how the story is written, they're still kind of important. But Miss Mouse, holy shit! I hate my family. If you, the people of YouTube, are listening, and you're hearing that yelling in the background, Imagine having to deal with that for close to 20 years. Non-stop. It would make any person go insane. Okay, it stopped. So where was... Oh, Miss Mouse. Miss Mouse. Holy shit. When I first read the story, like, years ago, and I saw Miss Mouse, like, okay, it's because it made it very clear that the main four characters when I first read it was going to be Goombella, Waffles, Vivian, and Koops. Those are going to be the main four. I wasn't expecting Miss Mouse to pretty much be the third main character. She is the third. There are four main characters. They are Vivian, Koops as the protagonist, Beldum as the antagonist, and then Miss Mouse, literally the one in the middle. I was not expecting it. Hell, I wasn't expecting her to be. If you know the lore of Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, there's the four heroes. There was a Goomba, there was a Toad, there was a Boo, and there was a Koopa. Miss Mouse in this story is actually the Boo. Holy shit! I was completely, when I first read that, it's like, what the what? She's the Boo. But then I went back, and I know I'm reminding you again of Kingdom Beyond Midnight. If you get a good swerve is one of those stories. You go back, you notice it, and then you go back to the previous chapters, and then you go, how did I miss that? There was, let's see, it was more subtle. It was very subtle, but there was more than one clue. There was, like, the whole fact that Miss Mouse knew too much. There was the fact that she always disappeared. Even in, like, and this is actually supported by the actual game. If you actually played 1000 Year Door, the 3 times you see Miss Mouse show up, before you recruit her as a partner, she's in the Hooktails Castle, the Great Tree, and the Glitz Pit. You can easily exclude the Glitz Pit, mainly because it's more, that chapter, Glitz and Glory, had a more comedic / mystery tone to it. So it's, like, understandable. It's like, oh, I hear something from upstairs. That one's understandable. How does she, which begs the question, in the game, how does she know that Hooktail's weak against crickets? And how does she know the Emerald Star was underneath the tree? And, Mario needed the Puny Stone to get it. So it's like, it's an excellent idea that was pretty executed well. It was, the breadcrumbs were there. You would literally have to be blind to miss them. And it actually makes sense in terms of the actual based off the game idea thing. Marilyn, she's never there enough, so again, just like Flurry and Bobbery, she's not really there. She was supposed there was, like, a sequel to the story which actually had Marilyn. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Better Off Alone to Hope and Faith. Yeah, it was based off. It had to do with Marilyn. Oh, the author changed their name from Great Chicken Miasma to Perfect Pink Water. I didn't notice. I actually just noticed that little tidbit. Beldum. Oh, Beldum was such an excellent villain. I really loved her detestableness. Everything about her. The author just turned what Beldum acted like in the game, turned it to 11, and it's like, you didn't need to change anything about the character. But you just made her so detestable. It's like, I want her to die, And again, a story is considered good to great in your eyes based on how well they pull on your emotions. I really loved everything. And Beldum made an excuse me, for some reason I started burping and hiccups. Beldum made a very detestable villain. I really love that idea. I think, honestly, the author maybe could have pushed it a little more, but nothing too me. But that's more wishful thinking than anything. That's more like, this is what I think should be done. Just have her push the envelope that much farther. The 4 heroes. I actually like the 4 heroes. They all had their own quirks. Nero was a hilarious goof. Just having a black winged Yoshi pretend to have a beard with like a little. Baby Vivian, adorable. Lillian, I pitied, but a good pity because she was such one of those characters that really just wanted to be independent, that just fit the story so well that I was sad when she died. I really wish she didn't die. I mean, when I read the part when she got killed by Beldam, I actually nearly cried there. I cried when Vivian died. Spoiler. But I just simply got sad when Lillian died because she was portrayed as like the oddball. She was portrayed as the one, the nice one who wants to who realizes, yeah, the Shadow Queen's mean, but I don't want to be mean. And her death kind of reinforces the idea that Beldam is the villain. She is the one that we're supposed to hate, and the author did a good job. Grammar. This is the part where the story falters. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of... Let me just switch hands. There is a lot of grammar errors. I am not joking. I am not kidding. I mean, oh my god, this story could have been even better if literally all the errors, all the words fixes, everything was fixed. I mean, I'll get more into that when I get to the end, but other than that. So, that would be it for the main book. Final, favorite part, would I recommend it, and final thoughts. Would I recommend it? Hells yeah, I would recommend this story. Unless you're like a grammar Nazi and then you just be turned off by the fact, why am I seeing so many grammar problems? Rage! What? Madam, what's wrong? Rage! What's wrong? Son, what's wrong with the laddie? She's a grammar Nazi. A what? She likes pitch perfect grammar, but she's reading FanFiction. Exactly. They're not experts, they don't proofread. They don't ghost read either. And what's that supposed to mean? Just watch. Sorry, I get too little passionate. If there's one thing I don't like when it comes to readers, it's grammar Nazis, because I don't really give two shits. Because it's fan fiction, you're kind of expecting the errors to show up. Granted, these are too many errors in this one story, but I'm not complaining. Sort of. Favorite part. Vivian's death at the end. At chapter 30. I mean, when I first started reading fanfiction, all the way back in August, roughly around August of 2011, I was seeing something that they were just average stories. They didn't really tickle my fancy. And then I came across this, and then I read it, and it's despite the fact I knew there was grammar errors, it's it pulled me in so much that I loved the story. I loved the characters. I really, genuinely did. And when I saw Vivian sacrifice herself to stop Beldam, I actually cried, because this is coming from the fact that, one, the story up until then was amazing. It was a heart-wrenching sonata of how to play on human feelings, but just her sacrifice and how it's played, oh god, how it's played for all it's worth. I actually stopped reading. I cried. I literally cried for 5 minutes because the emotions just overwhelmed me, and I wanted to finish this. I just couldn't. I legitimately couldn't stop crying. And I'm actually about to cry right now, because just even remembering everything that led up to it, everything that happened during it, everything that happened up to it until spoiler, she's alive at the end. but it's so heart-wrenching, and it's so played perfectly. The wordplay, the pacing, the characters, everything is pitch perfect except for the grammar. But when I saw Vivian die, I just couldn't help myself. I even stopped reading. I stopped reading as soon as that happened. I knew there was one chapter left, but I just couldn't help it. And like after 5-6 minutes, I sucked it up and I read the story, and I was just so happy that she was alive and she got her happy ending. And I was just, yes. Well, no, I wasn't chanting yes at the time, but I was just so happy and overjoyed, and I even was crying tears of joy, and I'm actually about to cry again. But that's my favorite part, because it appeared this one scene. If you ask me if you can name one scene that means everything, that means everything involving fanfiction, I would just point to this one scene, saying that this one story, this one scene tugged on my emotions in a way that novels and movies and everything could not do. Even the sappiest, there were like a couple movies I cried at, Bucket List for one, but there was like no novels. I read a lot of novels growing up. I read a lot of Goosebumps. I actually read Bram Stoker's Dracula. I read a lot of Nancy Drew. I read Phantoms by Dean Koontz. I read a lot of Michael Crichton. I loved the shit out of Michael Crichton. But none of them played on my emotions like this one story did. And it's like, if you want to see what fan fiction's about, read the story. Better Off Alone by I gotta get used to the new name. Perfect Pink Water. Wasn't the author name something else? Yes. I think she changed her name. What was she called? Great Chicken Miasma. I guess there's a reason why she changed her name. Then again, Great Chicken Miasma, not really a good sounding name. But I digress. Final thoughts. This story, I find, is perfect. If there's anything I would have to change, fix all the grammar errors, polish up the first couple chapters a little bit, but it's just simple. Fix the grammar, polish. That is it. There's nothing that I would want to change with the characters. Nothing I would want to change with the plot. That is because it would take away the emotional connect that I felt with the story. I love this. I really did love this story, and I still do. After 6 years after reading this, I still felt all the emotions that I did the first time I read it. And that's what makes a good story into great. What makes a great story into legendary is how much the story can drag you into its world, its characters, its plot, and how well they play on your emotions, and how well they translate to you. I mean, everyone has a specific opinion on what they think a story makes great. What I think a story is great is when they're able to manipulate their emotions that can overcome anything. I mean, I know with the whole political climate, I know I don't want to talk about political shit, and everyone's saying my feelings is a bad thing, but following your feelings is not an inherently bad thing. It can be a good thing, because especially if you're passionate about something. Say if you're like I guess you could say John Cena. John Cena has always been passionate about wrestling, and he's always passionate about wanting to wrestle at the WWE. He's done that since 2002. He's been wrestling since around that time, and you could tell that he's actually passionate about it. Whenever he's in public, you'll talk about how he really loves it. That's his feelings for what he loves coming through, just like what I'm passionate about, which is literature and reading in general. I mean, honestly, if I had to want to choose a job, I want to do something involving reading or literature in any way, shape, or form, not including writing, because I always seem to get the writer's block on it. But I feel my whenever I talk about literature, I always get this wellspring of emotional input from inside me, telling me, I said, talk about what you love, talk about how much you love it. And this is why I wanted to do this channel. I wanted to do this channel because I wanted to show how much I love the art of writing, how much I love the art of reading, especially since fan fiction, again, is completely underrepresented in terms of like the reviews. You have tons of movie channel reviews, you have tons of reading reviews that are actual novels, but nothing to do with fan fiction unless it's My Little Pony. Again, I actually mentioned this, I think, in the Turnabout Storm. I'm not blaming My Little Pony. I mean, they have a dedicated fan base. But, you know, there's more to fan fiction than the ponies. There's literally there's more to it. There's Mario, there's Mega Man, there's Naruto, there's Yu-Gi-Oh!, there's Monster Musume. Yeah, I know, weird one to say about that one, but I love Monster Musume. There's even plays, there's even wrestling fan fictions. There's so many fan fictions for so many fandoms. There's even fandoms about celebrities for some reason. I don't know. That there's multiple websites dedicated to it. There's even one dedicated to a couple specific fandoms. There's one dedicated to Harry Potter. There's one dedicated to My Little Pony. There's one dedicated to celebrities. What, Pat Jude? What, Pat? I'm talking about you. Yeah. That I just want to showcase my love, and this is in essence, in this one story, everything that I love about fan fiction, the passion, the true passion that that the authors are not getting paid. They're doing this out of their own volition because they love the fandom, they love the characters, they love the worlds, and they're doing this to showcase their love, they showcase their passion, they showcase everything they love about a character. And I mean, I can't really talk about it because I'd be talking about in circles over and over again. But I really do love this story. And it's such a sad shame that the sequel didn't finish, because I would read the shit out of it. I would love it just like I loved this story. Maybe, depending on what happens. And I love everything. These stories like this are the reasons why I love fan fiction, why I prefer them over actual novels. I know, kind of surprising. I have nothing against novels. I love novels too. But novels kind of get stagnant because they're actually now repeating. There's so many ideas in novels, and because of selling, they have to repeat the same sequences and the same characters over and over again, and it gets really tedious. Unless you're doing something like manga, then you get something really weird, like One Punch Man or anything to do with One Piece. One Piece is really weird, but I love it too. But fan fictions are another thing, because it showcases how much a fan base cares. I mean, every fan base has their highs and lows. They always have stuff that are always remembered good for it, and there's stuff that's always remembered bad for it. I mean, literally go on a forum and mention the Sonic fandom. See how many people get pissed off about that. And it's stories like this that reminds me how good this medium is. How happy I am that I found this medium. How passionate that these people love, and how much work they want to put into it. So, that is my review of Better Off Alone by Perfect Pink Water. I seriously gotta get used to that name. My name is Dark Symphony 777. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me for writing this story. And I know you're watching this, because I'm probably gonna message you. But I sincerely thank you for this story. for this emotional ride. Thank you. And cut.